In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, James and I, we're going to share our thoughts on the second day of the 2025 NBA Draft. The second round is now complete. Find out some of the big surprises, the best fits, and who went undrafted. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my brother, James Barlowe. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Like, share, comment, and click the bell so you can be notified every time Locked On NBA Big Board drops an episode. I normally say every time we drop an episode, but this is my last episode. Well, I'm still going to do some appearances here and there.
You about to cry?
No, I'm not about to cry. I'm still going to do some appearances here for Locked On NBA or Locked On, whether it's, whatever the Locked On teams. But this is my last episode as a host for Locked On NBA Big Board. It means a lot to me. Last year at this time, I was in the hospital with my wife. She was going through her first round of chemotherapy. So I really appreciate being back in the gym and being back able to just do what I do best, which is, I think what I do best, but do what I love doing. That's probably a better way to word it. And I'm actually on my way to Switzerland tomorrow so I can go scout the U19s. But anyway, this episode is all about the second round of the 2025 NBA Draft. We had a lot of surprises. Some guys that I thought would get drafted didn't get drafted. All right, let's start with you, James. What was your biggest surprise of the second round?
The biggest surprise of the second round for me was how far Maxime Raynaud fell. He ended up going 42 to the Sacramento Kings. I thought he would be one of the first guys selected in the early second round. I thought for sure when the Lakers acquired a pick that he would be their guy with their need for a center. They went with Tiero from Arkansas. So that was my biggest surprise.
There's quite a few for me. Maxime Raynaud falling to 42. He was a guy that I thought was a lottery pick. I mean, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I'm a big Maxime Raynaud fan. I wonder if it was a situation where he fell, or was it a situation where his agency decided that we want to go best fit? And if you're not familiar with the second round, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes how it works is there are teams that are, after a certain range, only plan on giving out two-way contracts. And there's some agents that say, we don't want to sign a two-way, we want to be on the roster. So if the team says, well, you know what, we're only giving out two-way contracts, then the agent may say, well, that's not what we want, don't draft us, we want to go somewhere where we can get on the roster. It happens, team can still draft a player, and then the player, I guess, is somewhat stuck. But there are times, Austin Reeves is the best example, he chose not to hear his name called on draft night because he wanted to go to a situation where he thought was favorable, where he can get playing time. He ended up signing a two-way deal, and then shortly after that, he ended up signing a standard contract, and now there are rumors that he turned down a max deal a couple days ago. So with that being said, Raynaud fell. That was a big surprise to me. I thought that he would go early, but he fell 42 to Sacramento, but I think that's a spot where he can play at. Who's the Kings' backup center?
It's a good question. It feels like it's always a combination of Alex Len.
Alex Len was with the Lakers.
And somebody else.
And then, what's my man's name from Portugal? He was with the Celtics, Nemes Kader. He was with the Celtics. So, I think that's a situation where he can play. All right, let's talk about Ryan Kalkbrenner. Ryan Kalkbrenner went to Charlotte at number 34. We talked about it in our live episode that Charlotte needs a center, and Kalkbrenner, he could actually come in and be their starting center. Who's on the roster right now?
Him.
Is it Nurkic?
Yeah, him and Nurkic. I think that's it. So he might start. I knew for a fact, no sources needed, I knew he wasn't going to make it past Charlotte.
Yeah.
Just because they had nothing there. So, and then Charlotte capped it off, and they took, another Dookie, Sion James.
At 33.
At 33. So, I feel like they went the high character route and got their guy. So I'm not surprised that Sion James going where he went. Figured he would go kind of early. He has a, good standing with the league officials. So.
Yep. So let's talk about surprises again. Johni Broome at 35. totally shocked. That is not something that I saw coming. If you would have told me that he was going to slide to the 40s, that's something I would have believed. But overall, I guess Philadelphia said, you know what, we don't care about, the lack of athleticism, the lack of shooting. We're just going by production. And Johni Broome was very, very, very productive, and he had a phenomenal senior year, good junior year.
Did they still have Paul Reed?
No,
Detroit. Okay.
B-Ball Paul is in Detroit. So Johni Broome going 35, that was a big shocker to me. Tyrese Proctor falling to 49, and the Cleveland Cavaliers not picking up like a big. I know they needed somebody tough. Lachlan Olbrich is a guy that's tough. I think they need they just need somebody that's physical and tough.
But I feel like
they got punked in the playoffs.
I mean, if I'm depending on the 58th pick to bring toughness to my roster, then I'm probably in some kind of trouble. But I think Tyrese Proctor landing in Cleveland is a really good spot. I know they say Ty Jerome may have lost himself some bread with his performance in the playoffs, so maybe he is gone in the free agency. But Tyrese Proctor is 6'5", 6'6". He can play off the ball, combat some of those size issues that people feel that the Cleveland Cavaliers have when you trot out a Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland lineup. So I think that while he did fall to 49, I do think he is in a very good spot to possibly make that team.
Another surprise that I think most people will be surprised by it, but I hinted at it in an article that I wrote a couple of days ago, was Alijah Martin going to Toronto at number 39. I knew that some teams liked him, and it was kind of like I think we talked about it in the podcast, right? When we talked about copycat league. It's a copycat league, but there's nothing wrong with being a copycat as long as you copy the right cat. And I think in like a recency bias situation, Lugens Dort is the player that Alijah Martin has been compared to. So seeing him go to Toronto at 39 was somewhat of a surprise. All right, any more surprises for you? Actually, I got one.
Oh, go ahead.
Brooks Barnhizer going to the Thunder at number 44 is a surprise for me. But can you really question the Thunder? So that was a surprise.
They get a pass for everything, man. You win a championship, you could draft anybody you want, send them wherever, and it's like, OKC got one. So, but he can play. He was a stat sheet surfer at Northwestern. He's on a two-way. So we'll see if he's able to crack that rotation. You got to think OKC is probably like, you know what, fresh off a championship, long season, they'll probably strategically rest some guys. So Barnhizer will get his opportunity amongst everybody else in Oklahoma City who didn't get to play. So we'll see how it works out for him.
Let's go with Talon Peter from Liberty. Was not in my top 70 prospects.
That should be the biggest surprise, in the sense that it's a surprise because you do your research on him. He had like a 3-year gap where he didn't play college basketball. He was a freshman in 2020, 2021, and he finished up his last year, 2024, 25. So he played 2 seasons over a span of 4.5 years, 5 years. So Indiana, they saw what they liked from him. I know he shot the ball well at Liberty. So we'll see how it works.
That was a surprise. Jeremiah Meshack going to Houston with the 59th pick. That was surprising. Muhammad Diawara was a name that I had heard was buzzing, so that wasn't too surprising. But Zikarsky, I saw him. I wanted to ask him, man, what was your strategy, man? He did not participate at the NBA Combine. And he was a guy that coming into the season I thought was going to be a first-round pick. He's got skills. He's kind of toolsy, excellent positional size at 7'3". But all the buzz around him, I shouldn't even say all the buzz. There has been no buzz around him. Haven't heard much about him since the Combine. And he ends up going 45 to Chicago. I think that could be a steal.
That pick is going to Minnesota. He's on a 2-way deal in Minnesota, so.
The pick goes to Minnesota?
Yes, that was for Minnesota. So they got.
It's not official yet.
Not official, but they got Zikarsky and say Jean Berger for me.
Jean Berger.
He just copied me, man.
All right, let's talk about Rasheer Fleming, who was the first pick of the second round. How do you like that fit in Phoenix?
I love it. I feel like he's got an opportunity to play right away at the 4. You got to think that, size is an issue, at least at the 4 spot for the Phoenix Suns. I know they just picked up every center that ever played in North Carolina over the past couple months, but I feel like he's got an opportunity to play there on Tuesday wing. You know, if I were him, I'm like, all right, man, I'm calling up Devin Booker, trying to figure out, you know, where do you need me to catch these lobs? Where are you going to, you know, do these pick and pops? Because he's got an opportunity. And it's almost like, you know what? Him going to Phoenix might have been the best situation for him. Instead of landing somewhere in the first round where he would have to, like, fight for minutes. So.
Yep. In the second segment, we're going to talk about some of the best fits we saw in the second round. Let's talk about Skims. When I found out that Skims was making underwear for men, I thought it was a joke. I'm thinking, when I think of Skims, I think of Kim Kardashian. But from everything that I'm hearing, they have good quality. And if you had issues with underwear, then you got to try a pair of Skims. Whether it's fit or comfort or style, Skims has everything that you need. Their men's line offers something from everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. Here is a testimonial from a Skims customer. He wears the boxer briefs. He says, "I'm hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me. They never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day. Whether I'm working out or just running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all." Free balling. So check out Skims. Go to skims.com and order you a pair. Again, skims.com. All right, let's talk about some of the best fits. We talked about Rasheer Fleming. I agree with you. I think that was an excellent fit for him to end up in Phoenix. And sometimes it's not all about the number. I mean, I've heard different agents say that. It's not all about the number. It's all about the fit, the best situation. Some agents do the best they can to control it and get their guys in the best situation. Sometimes they don't have any control. But I want you to dig a little bit deeper on why you think that Rasheer Fleming, you know, can carve out a nice role in Phoenix's rotation early.
Well, again, they are top-heavy in two spots, shooting guard and center. I think Rasheer Fleming is more of a natural four. He does have some five skills, but ultimately I don't think he's big enough to play the five full time. But he does have enough as a four-man. Should be able to operate in space. He shot the ball well at St. Joseph's. And, you know, if you want size at the four, if you don't want to play Ryan Dunn at the four, or if you want to, you know, mix up your rotation of front court players of Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn, and now Rasheer Fleming. And, I mean, they still got Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal is 6'6", though. You know, he can only do so much. Whereas Rasheer Fleming is 6'9". I just feel like this is a good spot for him. And, you know, talking to people close to him, they weren't worried about where he was going or what number he was going. They were just kind of trying to make sure that he was in the best situation. So I think that this ended up working out exactly the way that they had wanted to. And you got to, well, we haven't seen any contracts, but you assume that he's going to get a pretty favorable deal as the 31st pick of the draft. Yep.
We talked about Ryan Kalkbrenner. I love that fit in Charlotte. Charlotte has, they have a type, you know. they have a type that they're looking for. I've written about it. I've talked about it, that Charlotte was going to really, really emphasize high character guys, and apparently Kalkbrenner fits what they were looking for. I mean, in order to get drafted by Charlotte, your background has to be clean. Like in the words of Fabulous, so clean that the Board of Health couldn't find dirt. And that's what Charlotte valued. All right, let's talk about Noah Penda real fast. To Charlotte. He got drafted by Boston, traded to Orlando. That is a fit that I'm like, ooh, I think I might rather get stashed. Do you think he can crack that rotation?
If he can make a three-pointer, sure he can crack that rotation. That's not necessarily his strong suit, but, you know, I don't know. Like, yeah. I thought he was going to go in the first round, to be honest with you. I had him as a late first-round pick. And my thinking is this. You know, they moved basically heaven and earth, or the equivalent of heaven and earth in the second round.
So you really
to get him at 32.
All those picks and those 7th and 8th graders.
Yeah, all those 8th graders.
Traded for?
All those kids that are in bed right now to get him. So it's clear that they believe in him and, you know, his defensive versatility. So he's just going to have to make shots to see if he can crack that rotation.
Let's talk about Chaz Lanier. We were at the Combine, and we spoke with a representative from the Detroit Pistons, and he told us right after the combine, I want Chaz Lanier. He was like, he's a perfect fit for us. I think he can play. And if he's there when we're drafting, we're taking him. And Detroit got Chaz Lanier at number 37. I like the fit there. He provides shooting. I mean, that's what he's going to do. He's going to space the floor. He's not just a spot-up shooter. He can shoot off pin downs. He shoots from deep. He's been shooting NBA threes in college. So I like that fit there. And it's crazy. There was a Detroit team, just 2 years ago that had no shooting.
Right.
They had absolutely no shooting. Boxes and elbows. That's how you defended them. And now they've surrounded Cade Cunningham with shooters. And then voila, Cade Cunningham blows up. I mean, he's been healthy, but maybe he was healthy because that lane wasn't congested. He wasn't getting banged up.
Not stepping on anybody's ankles because
so
Isaiah Stewart is playing the 4 with Asur Thompson playing the 3 and whatever else they were doing out there.
Let's go with Jamir Watkins. Is he staying in Washington?
I think he's staying in Washington. I believe Washington announced that he was, or they tweeted him. So I think he's staying there.
Who knows?
Who knows? Either way, Jamir Watkins, wherever he is, and if it is in D.C., he's going to defend. And I think that, if it is in Washington, he's got his work cut out with those wings there. They drafted 2 of them, essentially, Trey Johnson and Will Riley. But they got some old heads, too, that are still there. But, Jamir Watkins, I'm him. Summer League, I'm guarding full court. I'm doing what I did before. He makes enough corner threes. I think he is a rotation guy. Really big fan of his. And, he adds that toughness to D.C.
Here's one I like. Tonje to Utah. That could be scary hours for some of the Jazz wings. Here's why. Tonje is older than probably all the wings on the Jazz roster.
He's older than Lauri Markkanen.
Tonje, and I talked about it on our live stream, I heard that Tonje has been absolutely killing in the pre-draft process. But the concern was, or I shouldn't say the concern, the take that I've heard is, well, he's older, he should be killing. He's 24. He's playing against guys that are 18 and 19 years old. He absolutely should be dominating them in workouts. But on the other hand, I think if he didn't, then it would definitely be held against him. He was one of 2 guys that some teams I talked to were just like, they should be in the NBA. They're too good for these workouts, but teams aren't necessarily impressed because this is what they expected from them. With that being said, Tonje, 24, aggressive, bucket getter. He is going to make life hell for the Jazz wings in training camp. Whether it's Ace Bailey, Cody Williams, whoever it is, Tonje is more experienced than those guys, and he's going to make it hell for those guys, in my opinion. Now, politics are politics. You don't want to have the guy that you took.
Man, I don't care how much hell he brings, man. And this is no disrespect to Tonje, but he was the 53rd pick. He's going to have to bring hell, heaven, the outer space, because, they got money invested in younger wings.
But they don't seem to be loyal to them.
That's true, too.
They don't seem to be loyal because obviously they needed talent.
Yes.
But I really think with Austin Ainge, I don't know if he's in charge, if he has final say, but I really do think he's like, look, let's roll out the ball, let's hoop. If you got it, you got it. If you don't, we're going to move on for you. So I think Tonje, I think that's a great fit. I think he's going to be hell for the wings in Utah because he's 6 years older than Ace Bailey.
One man is a veteran.
When
rookie.
Tonje was a freshman at Colorado State, Ace Bailey was probably in 7th grade.
They call him Unk.
I think I think he's going to be tough for those guys because they may have more upside than him and more promise, but you got to think. He's hungry. He hasn't necessarily been entitled. He hasn't been told that he's going to be an NBA draft pick since he was 15. Yep. I'm from Omaha. Tonje, he was very good in high school, but nobody saw him as, at least to my knowledge, as an NBA player. So I think that hunger, the age, the physical maturity, I think that's going to benefit him, especially if it's an open and fair, training camp. Tonje's going to get those guys hell.
I got one for you. Kam Jones was a big beneficiary of an unfortunate event of Tyrese Halliburton going down with an Achilles injury. So you need 3 point guards, and Andrew Nembhard is going to have a much bigger role as a ball handler next year. TJ McConnell's probably going to be in his same situation, just instant buckets off the bench. But Kam Jones, who played point guard last year at Marquette, is going to have an opportunity to play with the Pacers. And, they traded out of the first round. Probably had him in mind, especially with Tyrese's unfortunate Achilles injury. So, I think that he was definitely a winner for tonight's activity.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, up next, we're going to talk about the guys that didn't get drafted and also some two-way news. There's some guys that signed two-way deals. But let's talk about game time, because I wanted to ask you a question. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands. I do this all the time. I do it all the time. And that is exactly where Game Time comes in. It is the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, and even invite a bigger group of friends to come with you, because Game Time makes it all possible. Honest to God, I went outside because the media section, they wouldn't even let us in with the families today. If you're familiar with the Barclays, I went right across the street to do some shopping, and there was a guy outside, and he said, "Hey, do you know what my entrance is?" And I was like, "It's over there." He was like, "I just bought some tickets on Game Time." Now, I don't know if he got in, but I couldn't sit in the crowd with a media pass, but maybe he did. But he said he bought the tickets on Game Time, and it was a last-minute ticket. So with Game Time, it makes buying tickets fast and simple, and the prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch or the opening tip-off, or in this case, the first announcement. And they've got incredible last-minute deals. They got clear seat views and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right.
Real quick, Ralph, I want to make sure we clear up the Sacramento backup big situation. It was Jonas Valanciunas.
No, yeah. Okay,
but,
okay.
I mean, word is, maybe they're trying to shop Sabonis. I
don't know. You think Scott Perry's really trying to clean house? I just saw, and I didn't read the article, but I saw he's open to moving Levine.
I would clean house if I were Sacramento. I feel like you got to start over, man.
It's crazy. The buzz around Sacramento just 2 years ago was like they've turned the corner. They had Halliburton.
Even when they traded Halliburton, they gave, De'Aaron Fox won Clutch Player of the Year. Sabonis was an All-NBA guy. They gave Golden State, a run for their money for a little bit, and now it's time to light that match.
I think a playoff team should take a look at Jonas V. If you're a playoff team, you need I don't know the salary situation. If I'm Cleveland, I'm bringing Jonas V.
Yeah, you want to talk about some toughness?
Yeah, he's from Lithuania.
Yeah, he gonna elbow you in the chest.
All right, biggest surprises as far as guys who were not drafted. I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna go with Hunter Sallis out of Wake Forest. I thought he played well at the combine. I thought he shot the ball well at the combine, and he went undrafted. And it's a situation where we don't know if he decided to, forego hearing his name called, or he chose a situation. Either way, he signed a two-way deal with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Like immediately,
immediately. So there was obviously some talks going on there. It'd be interesting to see how he cracks that rotation. Philadelphia, again, they got free agents, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre, but, talking about the politics, not necessarily the politics. They're going to invest everything in the VJ Edgecombe because they drafted him third. Also, they got Justin Edwards on the wing. So we'll see how it goes for Hunter. He's going to have an uphill battle, but
I think he's fine, though. But I think they need some tools.
Yeah. Well, Jared McCain, do you run Jared McCain as your backup point guard? Either way, he has an opportunity. He's going to have to make the most of it. But, again, it's the same thing with Philadelphia. You have to think that at some point, and I'm not wishing on anybody's downfall, but at some point, like Paul George, Joel Embiid, those guys are going to miss time, and you have to make the most of those opportunities. Two ways get converted, man.
Yeah, we saw Justin Edwards went undrafted, and he ended up playing a significant role at the end of the season.
She might even end up starting for them.
Now, of course, they were all injured, but that's the opportunity you need.
Yeah.
All you need is an opportunity, and I think Justin Edwards made the most of it. As far as guys undrafted, a player that I was high on coming into the season, I knew his stock was falling, but to go undrafted, Dink Pate. Dink Pate was a player that I was high on, 6'8". I think that the situation where he went to Mexico City, where it looked like he was trying to play more of a role as a scorer, I think that really, really hurt his draft stock. I also think that him not having like a natural position, I know that based off what I heard, he was adamant that he was a point guard. Some teams saw him as a wing. But right now, I mean, the draft ended probably like 30 minutes ago. And according to what I'm looking at, he hasn't signed a two-way deal. So Dink is a guy that went undrafted that I'm pretty shocked about.
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily position, but I think the jump shot just scared people.
That and
I mean, on top of him trying to figure out what position he is, I think the jump shot, if the jump shot was better, you would just ease him into whatever position you felt like, which I think is a wing. But, we'll see how it goes. The night is not over. Dink may end up finding a spot.
I'm still shocked, though. He's so young. He's a good athlete. There's, upside as a passer for a team to not take a swing. RJ Lewis didn't get drafted. RJ Lewis didn't get drafted. I think he made a monumental mistake by keeping his name in the draft.
I mean, he just signed a two-way with the Utah Jazz. Word on the internet street is he had $2 million in NIL. I don't think he's going to get $2 million for the Jazz, but
no, I mean
probably not. But
it's like $2 million over what, 4 years?
He'll get $2 million, just not up front. But hey, man, he rolled the dice with himself, and we'll see. Hey, but at the same time, like if I'm a wing, send me to Utah, man. I feel like there's opportunities there. They're gonna play 18 guys by the end of the year, so it may work out for you.
Think about that. Like, realistically, this is how crazy the NBA is. A team can draft you late in the second round, sign you to a two-way, play you so you can help them get their replacement. Like, if you see Utah playing some of their guys, or their two-way guys, or their late second-round pick guys a lot of minutes, it could be one because they beat out the guys ahead of them, but if you're playing those guys, then that means you are in position to get AJ DeBance. That means your team is not doing well, unless it's by injuries. Anyone else that surprised you that did not get drafted?
On. How did we not talk about your boy Ryan Nembhard?
Ryan Nembhard didn't get drafted, but he signed a two-way with the Dallas Mavericks. To me, that's the perfect team for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That is the perfect team for him. Dallas doesn't need anybody else that wants to score.
And that sounds like definitely his agency was like, look, bro, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We got a situation for you where you can,
Because Dallas was rumored to be looking to get in the draft to grab a point guard. They got the best. I think Yegor Dim is the best passer, but Nembhard led the nation in assists.
9.8.
He probably got the best table setter without using a draft pick on him. So I think that is a good deal for Ryan Nembhard and for the Dallas Mavericks.
And with his size concerns, I mean, look who you got behind him. You got Cooper Flagg back there. You got Anthony Davis back there. PJ going to defend. They got two more bigs in Gafford and Lively. I'm pretty sure, I would guess that he chose that situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's
sure.
When you are not drafted, at that point, you and your agent are looking at rosters, looking at what is the best fit. All right, this team has a hole here. All right, this situation gives me the best opportunity to get converted from a two-way deal to a standard contract. I think with him not having to play a lot of minutes, I think that could help him out defensively, to be honest with you. He could be a Jose Alvarado, a guy that picks up full court when he gets in the game, changes the tempo, because he's not going to have to basically be the guy that sets the table for everybody. So I think that's a good pickup. And you need, in my opinion, I think if I were a GM, my third point guard would be, I'm either going with a giant point guard like Kobe Sanders, or I'm going with a small point guard that wants to pick up full court, that can knock down open shots and doesn't turn the ball over. To me, that's the ideal third point guard.
I agree.
Any other surprises that didn't get drafted? I mean, Eric Dixon didn't get drafted.
But he signed a
leading
two-way
scorer
with the Lakers.
Vlad Golden didn't get drafted.
I don't think that really surprises me. Actually, that does kind of surprise me. But again, he picked this location, so I think he's in a good spot. But no, I think that would be. Yeah, that would be it. I mean, Dink was really the biggest. I thought he would be a developmental piece late in the second round. And again, here we are at 11:22 Eastern time. He's yet to sign a 2A. Not to say that he doesn't have one in the works, but.
All right, here's some guys that I really like that I think could make some noise in the summer league that weren't drafted. Bryce Williams from Nebraska. I think his situation is similar to John Tonje. He was really good, but he was an older prospect, and it was held against him. Let's see. Curtis Jones from Iowa State. He's the one that I like. Jackson Robinson. Man, Jackson Robinson is a guy that has first-round talent. Like, there's some guys that I don't mean to bash him or knock them, but Jackson Robinson, Grant Nelson. Peyton Sanford didn't get drafted. I think he would have got drafted last year. I think Sanford and Hunter Sallis, if they stayed in last year's draft, would have been drafted.
Yeah.
Now, they made up for it with NIL, I'm sure. But I think with last year's draft not considered to be strong, I think they would have got selected.
John Pulakakidis. Excuse me if I butchered the last name. Shooter.
John, yep.
Definitely somebody to look out for in Summer League when he does get his name called.
Caleb Love signed a two-way deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. Caleb Love gets buckets.
Make sure you throw the ball in the yang. Caleb Love.
Oh, yeah. Handsome. You're not getting that rock.
Hey, man.
Zakai Ziegler will play Summer League for the Detroit Pistons. We talked about Ryan Nembhard. Well, that wraps up this episode.
They told Zakai Ziegler, nah, buddy, hit that LinkedIn, man. You got to get a job. He was trying to go back to school.
Max Shoga to the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. My final episode. Big thank you
Do I give you a pound here? Or?
We're not done yet. Wait till we get there.
My fault.
Once again, thank you to David Locke, Nick Engstead. Thank you for everyone that has supported my work, that has commented, good or bad. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Once again, thank you, Locked On. But I'm not gone. Just trying to figure out my next step. And I'll be honest with you, my next step is going to involve more storytelling. I feel led to just do a little bit more storytelling and giving the players an opportunity to tell their story and basically their path to the NBA draft. So follow me on Twitter, Barlow500, Barlow with E. I'm not crying, man. But again, once again, thank you for everything, Locked On. I appreciate it. And I'll be appearing on Locked On podcasts, I guess, around this time next year. It's all yours, brother. You got this.
Hey, my rookie deal got extended, man.
We out.